Good morning. We will go ahead and get started in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes after 1 o'clock, or I'm sorry, after 10 o'clock, just to make sure that they get logged in and such. So I will be back in just about 4 minutes. Hi again. We are going to get started in just a minute here. If you are not able to hear this, please send me a quick message. Otherwise, we'll get started in just a minute. All right, good morning, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. I know that we'll probably have a few more joining us. I keep seeing a couple people pop on, but we are going to go ahead and get started. This is the 2020-2021 AmeriCorps State RFP updates webinar. So there aren't a ton of updates this year. I don't expect this to take too long, probably 10-15 minutes. So if you need to record it or to watch this later for playback or need to share this with anyone else if you're at your office, we will have it recorded. It will be posted. The link will be posted on our website later this afternoon, and you will be able to share it with whomever is best. So just a quick note, um, with our RFP, we only allow questions in text in typed form. So I have muted lines, and please just either ask questions via the chat box here, or if you want to compile a list, if you get more than one, and send them to servewisconsin@wisconsin.gov, that would be really appreciated. We just have to type all of the questions then later into a questions document to post on our website. So it's always easier if we get them all in one place. All right. All right, so first up, we've got our announcements here. The first one is, so we have a theory of change, logic model, evidence-based, and evaluation webinar scheduled for October 23rd at 9 a.m. This will be led by our Wisconsin Evaluation Collaborative, WEC. That information and the link to that will be posted on our website. You will see that on the same page where you found this link to this website or to this webinar. It will be on there as well. Second, we have a question and answer document that will be posted soon. I'm going to gather all of the questions from this webinar and then also from the webinar that I'll be leading at 2 p.m. today regarding for new applicants, and I will compile those all and then post them later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, depending on when that gets done. And then finally, just the final announcement, the notification of intent to apply deadline is approaching. So if you have not yet submitted that, that is due October 25th by 11:59 p.m. So please get that in, even if you are not sure if you are planning on applying for a full application. Without that submitted, you are not able to apply. So it is mandatory, and please make sure you get that in no later than October 25th at 11:59 p.m. Earlier the better, obviously. We will send you an email. I will send you an email from the Serve Wisconsin Serve Wisconsin at wisconsin.gov email inbox, notifying you that we did receive that, but it is not an automated email, so it will take a day or two just to be able to see that we received it and send you that reply. So please send it as soon as possible, or please submit your NOI as soon as possible if you have not already done so. All right, just an outline for today's call. So we're going to go over some changes, a couple of things that are new, some things that are not in the RFP anymore this year, a few tips, and then the schedule for the overall RFP timeline. And again, if you have any questions, please type those in the chat box or send them to me via email at servewisconsin@wisconsin.gov. All right, so just a couple new items. First up is it's now available for full cost fixed awards. They are available for all slot configurations. Prior, it was just full-time slots or those serving in a full-time capacity. Fixed awards are now available for all slot configurations. Second is moving forward, there will be no alternative search protocols or ASPs or ASPs for NSCHC for criminal history checks. Serve Wisconsin, as you all know, switched to TrueScreen and FieldPrint as being the required NSCHC vendors last year, and we continue that for this next year. So, but if you did have an ASP prior, it has been eliminated per CNCS NOFO. And finally, CNCS has added insufficient evidence as a threshold issue for funding consideration. I wanted to bring this up because I know many of our programs are in that pre-preliminary or lower evidence tiers, and so this is something that they did add. So insufficient evidence is a threshold issue for funding consideration. The evidence tiers have not changed; those have remained the same, but insufficient evidence is a potential consideration that CNCS will use for funding. As I mentioned before, WEC will be hosting that webinar on October 23rd, and they will be talking more about evidence tiers. So if you have questions, you're welcome to email me, but I would definitely bring them to that webinar on October 23rd as well. Okay. So that's it for the new items that I want to bring up. There are a few more changes. So the first one is funding priorities. This really won't affect many of you, but they just expanded the economic opportunity funding priority. So it's now broader than just opportunity youth. So it's now, they've eliminated that very specific opportunity youth part of economic opportunity. It's now a much more broad definition. And then they also focused the education, healthy futures, and economic opportunity priorities to be on evidence-based interventions. The second change is around focus areas. So disaster services and environmental stewardship are no longer focus areas for 2020, 2021. The only focus areas that are in this RFP are economic opportunity, healthy futures, education, and veterans and military families. Third change is around the increased member living allowance for a full-time member. So for a full-time member, the living allowance is now up to the minimum is $14,279. And the change number 4, in similar fashion to the living allowance, the increased maximum cost for MSY, that is now up to $15,479 per MSY. The 5th change is regarding point values. So the CNCS increased the point value of evidence tiers. They decreased the point value for theory of change and logic model. They also decreased the point value for culture that values learning, but they increased the point value for member supervision. So again, they increased the points for evidence tiers. They decreased the points for theory of change and logic model. They decreased the points for culture that values learning, and they increased the points for member supervision. The change number 6, the performance measure instructions, there are very slight changes with the performance measure instructions. I'm not going to go over them here because I don't think that many of them apply to you. And if they do, it should be a pretty simple update for you to see. But there are not very many changes. I will just also note to make sure that you're utilizing the CNCS performance measure checklist, which is on page 27 of the performance measure instructions. And then finally, the financial management survey. So the financial management survey that CNCS sent out is much shorter than last year, and they are not requesting as many documents or any attachments. So we at Serve Wisconsin are creating an additional financial management survey just because there are some things that we do feel are important to collect. And both of those will be posted on our website by the end of the week at the latest. Hopefully before then, but definitely by the end of the week, both CNCS's financial management survey and Serve Wisconsin's financial management survey will be posted on the Serve Wisconsin website. All right. Just checking the chat box quick. Okay. So a couple things that just are not included anymore. The Safer Communities priority area, they removed that because apparently no one had been using it for many years. And I don't believe anyone in our portfolio has used it either. And then also they removed the question regarding AmeriCorps identity or co-branding. So that is no longer part of your application. So some things that aren't new and some things that you all are probably fully experienced with. The first thing is the oral presentation at the Program Evaluation and Development Committee, or PE&D meeting. So that, as it says in our RFP, is on December 3rd. So if you are submitting an application for this competitive RFP, you will be required to come to the PE&D meeting on December 3rd and provide a 5-minute presentation. The WEC support, so WEC meaning Wisconsin Evaluation Collaborative, as always, they are there to provide you with assistance if you want one-on-one consultation or with that webinar that they are providing on October 23rd. The peer review process, so that is not changing. We are still doing peer review process. It will likely take place the week before Thanksgiving, so that week of the 18th through the 22nd. And then the performance scoring of applicants, it's not new. It has changed slightly. I believe most of you are aware of this, but for Serve Wisconsin standards, our performance measures now are scored by percentage met. They are not scored by met and unmet. And this is just for Serve Wisconsin. So we will be identifying if you met 75% of the performance measure, but not 100, you'll now get credit for that 75% versus just unmet. All right, just a few tips. Just make sure you're following the instructions clearly. I know this seems super basic, but we have had some proposals submitted in the recent past that really very clearly did not follow the instructions and unfortunately either didn't make it very far in the process or required a lot of back and forth. So please make sure you're following the instructions. Avoiding acronyms. At least spell it out in the very beginning when you're about to, if you're going to be using an acronym. Type everything outside of eGrants. We all know eGrants sometimes doesn't have the greatest um, track record for staying logged in or for keeping what you're typing. So please just type it in a Word document before you type it in eGrants, so you can just copy and paste it. No prohibited activities, those haven't changed. So please just continue to not have those included in your application. Making sure you're aligning your performance measures and logic model. Make sure you're printing your grant to check the page limit. We have had a few people go over in the past. So if you do exceed the page limit, the peer reviewers will not receive whatever is in excess of the page limit. So please make sure that you are staying in the page limit. And then also don't assume the reviewers' knowledge. So, you know, I know many of your programs quite well, but the peer reviewers may not. So please just in making sure that you are not assuming that the peer reviewers or that CNCS knows what your programs are or what words mean, what acronyms mean, things like that. Please just make sure that you are very clearly spelling out what you're trying to say in your application and not making any assumptions. Okay. All right, so our schedule. So today, oh, I'm sorry, that's supposed to say the 15th. So the 15th is today. We are having this RFP updates. We are also on October 15th today having a new applicant webinar. That is really aimed towards new applicants. So we will go over AmeriCorps, we will go over MSY, we will go over very basic things. So it's only applicable to you if you really want a refresh from the beginning or if you are a new program. On October 23rd, the Wisconsin Evaluation Collaborative webinar is at 9 a.m. Again, the link for that will be posted on our website. October 25th at 11:59 p.m. is the notification of intent to apply is due. November 7th, your proposal, additional documents, and alternative match requests are all due by 4:30 p.m. December 3rd is the Program Evaluation and Development Committee meeting, so that's the one where you'll do your 5-minute presentation. On December 12th is the Wisconsin National Community Service Board meeting, so our board meeting. You'll see, for those of you who have been around, typically we would hold on to your applications with clarifications until after the board meeting, where we would then open up your applications to you and eGrants. This year, we are going to open them up after the PE&D committee meeting. So after December 3rd, we will open up your applications for you to go ahead and start doing your clarifications and revisions. With that, then you will have additional time because our timeline is so much shorter this year. So the board meeting will occur on December 12th, and then your applications will be due back to Serve Wisconsin with the first round of clarifications and revisions by December 20th. The timeline is so much shorter because we have to submit everything to CNCS by January 8th. Obviously, with Christmas and New Year's, that time frame is very much shortened and very limited on both us and a lot of your time. So we really ideally would like to have everything wrapped up by December 20th, all revisions, all clarifications, so that we can then get that sent in up to CNCS. And then May 2020 is the notification of competitive awards from CNCS. All right. Wraps up the RFP updates webinar. Again, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. But with the webinar about to be ending, I just ask that you email them to servewisconsin@wisconsin.gov. If you have any questions or need links to those webinars, you want to check out that website there. It's on our Serve Wisconsin website under Start a Program. So I'll leave this up for just a minute longer, but if you don't have any questions, you're free to leave the webinar, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. All right, I am not seeing any questions coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and stop our webinar. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email them to servewisconsin@wisconsin.gov, and I will post the updated questions document either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone.